Hello everyone and welcome to the lecture on Amazon CodeWhisperer. So this lecture will contain all these topics. What is Amazon CodeWhisperer? Example, language support, infrastructure as code, languages support, also supported code generation, supported development environments, authentication methods, authentication options, and security scans. So what is Amazon CodeWhisperer? Amazon CodeWhisperer is a machine learning powered tool that generates code and gives you recommendations in real time. It automatically makes suggestions that are based on your current code, comments, and existing input. The recommendations can vary in size from a single line of comment to complete functions. As you start typing, CodeWhisperer offers suggestions based on both your current and previous inputs. So this is how it looks like. So if you have worked with GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio Code or any kind of code editor like Cursor, then this is exactly the same, but it's from Amazon and it's called as CodeWhisperer. So currently it has this language support. So this one is supported like strongly. So these are Java, Python, JavaScript, TypeScript, C#, Go, PHP, Rust, Kotlin, and SQL. Then it also supports infrastructure as code languages support such as CloudFormation, YAML, again CloudFormation but in YAML syntax, HCL for the Terraform, and TypeScript for Cloud Development Kit, CDK, and Python, again CDK, but there are two flavors, one in JavaScript, TypeScript, and one is Python. And these languages are also supported but not as stronger degree as the one which I showed earlier. So these are Ruby, C++, C, Shell, and Scala. Supported development environments. So first we have Amazon SageMaker AI notebooks, and this provide a managed Jupyter Lab environment for creating, sharing, and collaborating on Jupyter notebooks within SageMaker AI Studio. Then we have Jupyter Lab, which is an open source IDE that enables working with data and code, creating and editing Jupyter notebooks, running code in various programming languages, and visualizing data. And then we have AWS Toolkit for Visual Studio Code, and this is an open source plugin that facilitates creating, debugging, and deploying applications on AWS. Then we have a toolkit, same AWS Toolkit for JetBrains IDE also, and this is an again open source plugin. And this simplifies development, debugging, and deployment of serverless application using AWS. Then we have AWS Cloud9, which is a browser-based cloud IDE with code editor, debugger, and terminal. And this is pre-packaged with tools for all programming languages like JavaScript, Python, and PHP. And lastly, you can directly code in AWS Lambda, which is a serverless event-driven compute service that runs your code without requiring server provisioning or any kind of management. So CodeWhisperer authentication guide. So in order to use CodeWhisperer with VS Code or JetBrains, you must first download and install the AWS toolkit. So in VS Code, if you go to the extensions or the plugins, you can search and install that on the VS Code. Same for JetBrains. Authentication methods by development environment. So if you plan to use CodeWhisperer with VS Code, through AWS Toolkit and same for JetBrains, you will first have to authenticate either using AWS Builder ID or the IAM Identity Center, which is AWS single sign-on. And if you plan to use CodeWhisperer with other services like Cloud9, AWS Lambda, SageMaker, AI Studio, Jupyter Lab, or AWS Glue Studio, you will have to authenticate using Identity and Access Management, which is AWS component or the AWS service. Authentication options details. So first, Builder ID. This is again Toolkit and VS Code and JetBrains. This one requires only your email address, and to use it, you don't need any AWS account. And for IAM Identity Center, this requires setup by your enterprise administrator because it's a single sign-on service. So somebody in the enterprise or the company has to configure this. And IAM credentials are used within your AWS account to regulate access to and between various AWS services, which is for the last option, which is like SageMaker AI Studio or the Cloud9 or the Lambda. Lastly, security scans. So CodeWhisperer detects security policy violations and vulnerabilities using static application security testing, SAST, secrets detection, and infrastructure as code scanning. Security scans identify vulnerabilities. It can suggest improvements and also provide code to address identified issues. The Run Security Scan feature examines the active file in the ID editor along with its dependent files from the project. Scan results appear in the Problems panel in Visual Studio Code or in a dedicated CodeWhisperer Security Issues tab in JetBrains IDE. Security scans analyze files at the project level, truncating them to create a size-limited payload for server-side processing, with limits varying by the programming languages. The scanning functionality is powered by detectors from Amazon CodeGuru detector library. CodeGuru Security employs multiple filtering layers to focus on critical issues by filtering out unsupported languages, test code, and open source code before scanning. And that's all. Thanks for watching.